Hello everyone. Today we're going to start, I'm going to give you like a little introduction to this book. It's the NA Step Working Guides. It says Step Working Guides. I think, I don't know, I guess for each step it's why it's plural. But anyways, here's the table of contents. Here's the preface. And step 1. We admitted that we were powerless over our addiction, that our lives had become unmanageable. A first of anything is a beginning, and so it is with the steps. The first step is the beginning of the recovery process. The healing starts here. We can't go any further until we've worked this step. Some NA members feel their way through the first step by intuition. Others choose to work step 1 in a more systematic fashion. Our reasons for formally working step 1 will vary from member to member. It may be that we're new to recovery. We've just fought and lost an exhausting battle with drugs. It may be that we've been around a while, abstinent from drugs, but we've discovered that our disease has become active in some other areas of our lives, forcing us to face our powerlessness and the unmanageability of our lives once again. Not every active growth is motivated by pain. It may just be time to cycle through the steps again, thus beginning the new stage of our never-ending journey of recovery. Some of us find a measure of comfort in realizing that a disease, not a moral failing, has caused us to reach this bottom. Others don't really care what the cause has been. We just want out. Whatever the case may be, it's time to do some step work, to engage in some concrete activity that will help us find more freedom from our addiction. Whatever shape it is currently taking, our hope is to internalize the principles of step 1, to deepen our surrender, to make the principles of acceptance, humility, willingness, honesty, and open-mindedness a fundamental part of who we are. First, we must arrive at a point of surrender. There are many different ways to do this. For some of us, the road we traveled getting to the first step was more than enough to convince us that unconditional surrender was our only option. Others of us start this process even though we're not entirely convinced that we're addicts or that we've really hit bottom. Only in working the first step do we truly come to realize that we are addicts and that we have hit bottom and that we must surrender. Before we begin working the first step, we must become abstinent. Whatever it takes. If we're new in NA and our first step is primarily about looking at the effects of drug addiction in our lives, we need to get clean. If we've been clean a while and our first step is about our powerlessness over some other behavior that's made our lives unmanageable, we need to find a way to stop the behavior so that our surrender isn't clouded by continued acting out. Now, my sponsor recommended that this is going to be the first set of questions, the disease of addiction. So write down your definition of addiction. And what makes us addicts is the disease of addiction, not the drugs, not our behavior, but our disease. There is something within us that makes us unable to control our use of drugs. This same something also makes us prone to obsession and compulsion in other areas of our lives. How can we tell when our disease is active? When we become trapped in obsessive, compulsive, self-centered routines, endless loops that lead nowhere but to physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional decay. Now, I numbered each bullet point to help me, so you might want to do the same thing so I can keep track of my questions. So the way that I have it in my book is, let me go get the book. This is how my layout is, okay? So I wrote down the definition for disease, addiction, and then I started with these questions right here that were under the disease of addiction. So there's 8 questions, okay? And then I'm going to do denial separate. I'm going to do each of these sub topics separately. Okay, so the first question is, what does the disease of addiction mean to me? Question number 2, has my disease been active recently? Question mark, in what way? Question mark. Number 3, What is it like when I'm obsessed with something? Does my thinking follow a pattern? Describe it. Number 4. When a thought occurs to me, do I immediately act on it without considering the consequences? In what other ways do I behave compulsively? Question number 5. How does the self-centered part of my disease affect my life and the lives of those around me? Number 6. How has my disease affected me physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally? Our addiction can manifest itself in a variety of ways. When we first come to Narcotics Anonymous, our problem will, of course, be drugs. Later on, we may find out that addiction is wreaking havoc in our lives in any number of ways. 7. What is the specific way in which my addiction has been manifesting itself most recently? Number 8. Have I been obsessed with a person, place, or thing? If so, how has that gotten in the way of my relationships with others? How else have I been affected mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally by this obsession? So that concludes the disease of addiction in step 1. Thank you. Please subscribe.